David, welcome to the Exchange-wide Kitchen. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm pleased to have you and delighted to be chatting to you today. First off, the all-important question, what drink are you having?
Yeah, so anyone who knows me knows that, bit of a child, I like my hot chocolates, so more of that than coffee.
Fair enough. Well, it's the first. You're the first hot chocolate drinker on the show, but you are welcome nonetheless.
Yeah.
So you are now at Assembly Global. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your career path, and how you ended up at Assembly.
Sure thing. So I joined Assembly about 2 months ago. So I'm head of Programmatic for Europe there. So Assembly is part of Stagwell Group. So some of you in Europe may know of Stagwell Group with Good Stuff, who's part of the family as well. So working closer and closer with them. How did I get here? So where should I start? Beginning of my career?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Take us through.
So one of my first jobs in media was at Teeds. But actually it was called Teeds, it's called e-buzzing. So that might tell you how long I've been in the industry for. So there I worked with publishers. So my role there was onboarding publishers, working with them to kind of build, I guess, the e-buzzing and Teeds network. And then worked with commercial with them. And then how do we become a programmatic business? So this was right at the grasp of suddenly programmatic was becoming a bigger thing and video was becoming a bigger thing. From there, after 4 or 5 years there, I spent some time at Programmatic and then I moved to agency world. So landed at Group M, where I worked with Xaxis. So my job there was growing clients, driving innovation for clients, driving that kind of internal capabilities with our clients and people taking it up. And then from there, wanted to have a change of holdco. Went to Dentsu, where I was head of Programmatic there, under the title of managing partner. So they had just merged all the Programmatic teams into one. So I was leading that for a year or so. And then, with what's going on in the market, I thought the right time was actually maybe to move to an agency that's challenging the market, such as Assembly. So when you look at the market of what's happening with big holdcos, whilst they're fantastic at what they do, I just felt maybe there's an opportunity for me personally with someone like Assembly, and it's exciting to see what their growth potential can be, where they can get to. And I think clients are wanting that quicker flexibility, which I believe the challenger agencies can help with more.
Definitely. Well, that was a whistle-stop tour through the history of programmatic, basically. Amazing. You've seen it all come and go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you said you're at this new position at Assembly. Assembly is, a challenger, certainly, to the holdcos, and it's doing very interesting stuff at the moment. What's the programmatic ecosystem like for you in 2026? How are you experiencing it at the moment?
So it's interesting. I think there's a number of different things happening in the market. So you obviously got likes of AI. Everyone's doing AI. So probably every week, every other week, a new player seems to turn up who's like, we can help automate and optimize and build algorithms and connect data. So we're trying to work out what's the right thing for us in that. And, it's kind of, if you go back 10, 15 years ago, there was the implosion of programmatic networks. Well, I think we're now seeing the implosion of, or the explosion rather, of programmatic AI plugins, right? So how do you verify what the right one to use and when not to use it, that kind of stuff? At the same time, I think the supply chain's changing. So if you think about CTV, like some Netflix, Disney are going straight nearer to the DSPs and kind of hopping away from the SSPs. But at the same time, the SSPs are making their kind of call on their value in the market. So they're integrating some of the measurement and AI and creative tools earlier in the ecosystem, which actually would benefit campaigns. So it's all a bit, weirdly, more fragmented more than ever and more confusing more than ever. But I generally believe that can give so much more potential and customization for clients.
So that's really interesting, and it's I can certainly pay testament to that because we hear of a new AI based company. There's a new AI solution every week that seems to be popping up, dropping in, offering to optimize workflows and make everything smooth and seamless. It reminds me of the beginning of programmatic as well.
There's a bit of that.
Yeah, it's the promise of optimization and ease. It reminds me of those nascent days, which you must have experienced as well.
Yeah, it's definitely reminded me of that. So, funny enough, we're doing some storytelling to our clients at the moment around this and some education. And what you don't ever want to do is complicate things with clients, because I think that's when clients suddenly go, "That's really complex and fragmented. Other channels might be easier." But actually, the power of what we can do is so big. But to your point, the beginning of programmatic was to almost defragmentize everything. So you're buying, whether it's Telegraph, Guardian, Mirror, whoever, previously buying them singular, then you're buying them all as one buy. But now we're getting to a world of how do you buy everything as one buy when some of it's stuck in Amazon, some stuck in DV360, traders have their own personal agreements, then the data flow is different, then you've got AI. So it's getting to that messy world. It's like, how do we make it simpler? And I think that's the role of what agencies should be doing, is simplifying it, but in a consultative way, whether they're an in-house client or whether they're fully with the agency.
Yeah, and how have you found that education so far with clients? How do you go about it?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think the first thing is it's about bringing excitement to them, right? So excitement and simplicity. I find when clients become excited by that, they tend to go, this is one of the most exciting things they've seen in media in a long time. Even though to us in Programmatic, it's like, that's our day in, day out. It's what we talk about all day internally. How do we make it happen? It's definitely talking about simplification and not necessarily what is it that you need to know, but how do you get them to know and understand the pieces that really are important to them, right? Some clients don't necessarily need to or want to understand the full detail from end to end, and it's right, we should be transparent with that. But actually, how do you have the right conversation with the right client without losing them in the weeds of so much technology, which I get stuck in all the time. I'm sure everyone does. Find me someone in Programmatic who knows top end to bottom, every vendor, the difference. You'd be lucky to find one person who gets all of it.
Yeah.
So how can we expect to educate a client on all of it without losing them and then going, that's complex, let's just use another channel, right? So I think it's simplification, making it exciting, and making them not just have trust in what Programmatic can do, but trust in that they have control, but also the agency knows what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think that simplification is important, and also having that grasp on it. I mean, the clients, they want to know what it's going to achieve, how it's going to achieve it, and who they're going to reach, basically, right? Yeah,
exactly that. And they also, there's a classic of comparing the outcome of Programmatic versus search and social, right? I think what people need to do more of is looking at Programmatic isn't a channel. It's not what it was originally, just display. It's display, it's online video, YouTube's in there, you've got CTV in there, you've got out-of-home audio, gaming. It's a vast amount of things. You could argue as retail media Programmatic as well within its ecosystem. I think it kind of is. But to in comparison, clients go, but search is doing this and it's simpler. You're here. What people don't talk about as much is the side effect of those channels on forms of search and social. So, you look at some campaigns, if you weren't to run in half the country on Programmatic, does search and social go down in performance? 9 times out of 10, you will see an effect in that. So it's how do we start showing that way of measuring to look at the side causal effect, even if the direct measurement doesn't necessarily show what the client wants, but overall has a bigger impact.
Yeah, so that education is obviously a very important thing for clients. It's knowing what the actual impact of all these wonderful fragmented channels that we now have and available programmatically. What's your favorite channel at the moment? What do you like working with?
What do I like working with? I think parts of it is CTV, right? Yeah. And there's reasons for it, not just because it's the fastest growing, it's the quickest growing, it's, TV is manoeuvring its way around into that world and naturally things are transforming that way. I just think it's think of home screens, right? So your first thing you do, you turn on TV, there's a home screen. You can now put ads in that, right? And then you go and watch whatever it is, whether it's Prime, Netflix, Disney, Channel 4, ITV, whatever it might be. You then go and watch your content there, and obviously there's ad breaks in there. Well, now what you're seeing on top of it is the pause breaks as well, right? So when you pause it, I think some broadcasters do this better than others. I think what you see in Amazon is really good in that kind of engagement, and you can also do like a click to buy. So it's becoming more performance led, but rather than it just being you're watching TV and an ad happens to happen, it's actually a whole journey of how you utilize the TV, and there's a whole added experience in that. And I think that's what people need to identify, how best to maximize that opportunity.
Yeah, and that for me is, I think CTV is such an interesting one because of that potential and because of, it isn't just the standard pre-roll, mid-roll that we used to have. There is now the home screen. There is now the pause break. I'm fascinated by the Amazon ones. I was served one the other day watching something on Prime, and it came and I was like, oh, literally with my remote, I can click through and link my Amazon cart. It's like, that's sort of what we were thinking about.
It's kind of what we want to get to. And I think maybe ITV did this at some point. They made shoppable ads and it doesn't really pick up.
Right.
But obviously, I think it's probably going to come back and everyone's going to work out how to do that within TV properly. It's obviously easy for Amazon to do it in their ecosystem, which is why that's doing really well for them. But there's other partners out there which can probably do that within your creative and place it in a different DSP, right?
Yeah.
I think there's creative ways of doing it. It's interesting because it's going from long-term branding to something actually there's performance you can leverage into it.
Yeah.
And it is, there's no lie about it, it's the most engaging media there is. But also you need the other channels to back it up. It's not just about, if you were to put all your money in one place, put it there, you need the mix. And that's why I think programmatic's so interesting, is how do you get that mix right?
Yeah, that's the modern media mix, I suppose, and how programmatic is available across it. But I'm going to take us back to AI because it is changing how we do stuff. It is offering this promise of ease and simplification. How is it impacting your workflows, and how, you've mentioned the creative impact it has, the optimizing impact. How do you use it day to day? What's it doing for you?
So if you think it from a day-to-day aspect, I think it's helping people. If you go back to the servicing we give our clients, it's helping us amalgamate and understand what's really happening in media quicker and faster.
Yeah.
Helps to leverage what we should be doing and opens up more strategic opportunities, right? If you think about previously, we'd have so many different reports, all disconnected, and you could spend hours looking at them. Now having it all in one place, using AI to help us identify the right tools, right? So maybe we're still doing the analysis of it, but AI is able to help us pull the data quicker, right? So there's that speed of it, better insights. And then you get to the pieces of how do we do things better for clients, whether it's DCO. Right? So classically, everyone talks about DCO, but most people do it very manually. It's not true DCO.
Yeah.
I think we're in that age where that might be about to change, but again, all comes down to how much data does a client want to give you, how do you link it, and then how do you let AI start telling those stories in those ways. And I think the third bit of AI is around, optimization. So whether you can build a custom script or, what people have been doing and previously were doing is going, more is being spent, more is being performed better in, a tablet in London. Let's optimize towards those. What AI does go is actually here's thousands of micro performances that are doing better than everywhere else. Let's optimize towards that cluster of data. So it amalgamates so much data to make a difference. I think that's where that's a story we need to work out how to tell clients better. Because whilst it might cost them more to leverage the AI, the performance gain will massively outweigh that.
And then the customization that comes with that is, off the charts basically for the agents, for your clients.
And then, how can AI help you identify? If you tie that all up, AI could help you identify and bring together the insights better to help you go, actually, here's a correlation between a KPI and a business outcome. Then how do you optimize towards that? And you make a custom KPI, which eventually leads to, say, like a custom algorithm. So I think it's how do you leverage it in all areas to tell the story that helps you make a strategic decision. And by the way, I don't believe AI can help you make that strategic decision of what to do. So the classic is, what does AI mean to our jobs in the future? I'm like, if anything, I think it gives us more interesting conversations to have to clients. And it's, less than the day-to-day of activation and more how to make the key decisions in that. But overall, the more strategical ecosystem building, algorithmic building that helps drive that better performance.
It's really interesting, and it's developing so quickly. But the data, the understanding of data, and what you said there in terms of, it's the difference between a survey of 10 people on how they use their phones, between being able to understand how people across a country use their phones, and the speed of understanding. It's funny how fast things change. I spoke to 2 years ago, I think, at the start of when ChatGPT was first kind of making headlines. I had the creative director from RGA came in for an interview, and I was asking, how are you using AI in your creativity? And DCO was mentioned, and he was like, well, basically at the moment it just spits out everything everyone else has done for basically the last 50 years of advertising. So we're using it to understand what's trite and what's overused. And I wheeled out that anecdote a couple of times over that year, and now it doesn't seem to be the case anymore. It's now the capabilities in terms of creativity and all the stuff it can do in back-end and workflows. I'm with you. I don't think that it should be done without human oversight. I don't think you can trust it to make those decisions. But what you can do is help give you the information to make better decisions and help
exactly that.
better.
It's gone from helping you pivot from the insights what's better to then going, what could you be doing? Right? I think that it's helping you that jump with what you just said there of you amalgamate all the good things that worked and bad things, do this, but how does it start predicting by doing X and Y, you're probably going to get this result?
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. What's the next step for you? What do you see as the future of programmatic?
Yeah, good question. There's so many directions it could go in. I think we're kind of in a place where, is it about the inventory as much in terms of where you buy your media from, so from which DSP and SSP, actually now down to more commoditisation of the data. So I think you see multiple DSPs have the same inventory. So let's say Netflix across 3 or Disney is, and not necessarily saying they're doing this or not doing this, but you probably could take a guess they all have a different data agreement with each DSP, which probably means whether that feeds into their algorithms of how they make decisions or measurement or how they identify users converted. So how do we as agencies understand that? It's complex, but I think that's going to be the commoditisation of how to identify where your money should be. But also that's going to be the negotiation going forward, right? Yeah. So, someone, whether it's Netflix or Disney, they all want to be in the same place because they don't want to lose out because one DSP is better than the other budget-wise, but they also need to leverage their data in different ways. So I think that's going to get more and more complex.
Yeah.
What I'd hope happened is, whilst it's great to see all this AI innovation, at some point that's going to consolidate and you'll have the key 5 of AI that plugs in. At the moment, we just have more and more players turning up. But somewhere we need to, if I was to spend my time looking at all of them, I don't think I'd have any time to do anything but that, and no one else would. And somewhere we've got to identify how do you quantify that better. I think what people forget about is they go, oh, AI does some really cool things, but actually a lot of those tools is what data have they inputted into it to empower what they do, what signals. So I think it's going to get a bit more complex and suddenly simplification, because all these companies have been backed by some business somewhere, and you'll need to try and win it. Not everyone can win. Yeah. So I'm hoping we're just in this messy bit and it'll get less messy, is the hope.
Yes. I mean, just whack them all into perplexity and ask them which is best.
Yeah, there is that.
See what it says.
Yeah. I think the other bit that's interesting that people talk about less, but people talk about it in, say, search and definitely in social, is you're seeing a lot of AI content, right? Yeah. That will definitely have an effect on programmatic. Think about the content programmatic's around. How do we identify what is AI content and not, to work out the quality of media? Yeah. And how do we then control that? I think that's going to be an interesting space. Whether it's news articles written by AI and the quality and quantity of that needs to be good, versus what are you advertising around? So yes, YouTube sits in this funny place, it's programmatic, but it's, toying in the world of social because of Reels. Yeah. But then in there you will see some AI-led content, as you do in Instagram, as you do in TikTok. Well, how do we identify those quicker so you can then target away from that content and bits like that? There's probably someone already doing it, somewhere we're trying to. Yeah. That's really important to ensure our ads are in a place of higher attention and higher quality.
Yeah, I obviously, as from a publisher point of view, fully agree with that, and wanting ads to be put next to good quality content. And YouTube's such an interesting case for that because it does bridge the gap between UGC, social, and high quality. So that's a super interesting point, which will probably help define the industry over the next few years.
Yeah,
as well.
Probably will, and I think someone will have the measurement for it, and we just got to work out who's the right company to trust in that measurement. And then I think it's the same problem the whole world's got, even outside of media, is what is real content, what's not. Yeah. And how do we quantify that?
I was listening to there's a new BBC podcast by Jamie Bartlett called Everything is Fake and Nobody Cares.
Yeah.
Is the new one he's brought out.
Was the podcast fake or was it real?
So he has invented an AI sidekick to help him co-host and fact check and stuff. It's honestly fascinating.
So you won't need us soon to come on these. You'll have AI to chat to.
Oh, I'm AI. I've been AI for years. No. Well, we'll wrap that up there. David, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
really
for having
appreciate it. And we'll do it again later in the year.
Yeah. Look forward to it.
Thank you very much. Cheers.